What is up everybody, I am WH10, I am the creator of Tail End Railway. So recently I've been asked to make a comprehensive VS2 tutorial to enlighten those in the community who want to learn how to rig their engines. The engine I'll be using as a tutorial is Laverne. This here is Laverne. She is a 242 locomotive. And she is owned and created by Southern Engine, a friend of mine. So yeah, I will be rigging this engine and I'll be explaining how to do it. So one of the first things that you need for a vehicle seat tutorial is obviously the vehicle seat. So all you have to do, go to your toolbox and you grab the VehicleSeat2 chassis. This is where you find it, toolbox models VehicleSeat2 capital V capital S, no space. And there you have it, you should have your VehicleSeat2 by NW SpaceX. Alright, so one of the first things I recommend doing when rigging VehicleSeat2 is just to select everything in model, press Alt, and drag. And you should be able to select everything there. And then once that happens, you go to your properties right here. And you press and you click anchored. So checkmark means everything that you selected is anchored. Now the reason why I'm asking you to anchor this is because VehicleSeat2 uses a script called Advanced Weld 2. Advanced Weld 2 basically welds everything inside a group, but it has to be anchored because Advanced Weld 2, the way it works is that if you anchor something, usually it does not move. But Advanced Weld 2, what it does is that it grabs everything inside the group and it welds it together. But it usually takes a bit of time in between the script to trigger and the time it takes to load the game. So if you unanchor it, the part may be falling through the earth or something like that and it won't weld properly. So you have to anchor it in order for it to work. So once you have anchored everything, I suggest grouping. Grouping basically is just to keep things clean. Alright, so the first thing we do is we grab all the non-moving bits. Alright, so just boiler, frames, whatever. And you put them under one group. As you can see, I have named this group body, because you know the engine body. And then now we will move on to the moving parts. So among the moving parts are bogies. So Laverne here has two bogies, a back bogie and a front bogie. And she has one front wheel or pilot wheel and another trailing wheel that goes with the bogies. Yeah, so make sure that these here are all grouped as early as I've shown you, but for the bogies I must elaborate on them. So behind me here we have two sets of bogies. One is a four-wheeled bogie and the other is a two-wheeled bogie. Two-wheel bogies usually go on things like moguls, and the four-wheel bogies go on things like Americans or 10-wheelers, you know? So this is how I group them. So inside this bogie body we have basically everything, and then we also have two gliders, one glider for each wheel. Gliders basically keep you from falling off the track. And then of course there's the wheels. The wheels are all grouped together. One set of wheels is completely together. Keep them in the same group, do not separate them. And then here we have the mogul wheel. So yeah, as I said before, each wheel gets its own glider, so the mogul wheel only gets one glider. And of course there's the body. So yeah, group the body in one group and group the wheel set in one group. So here, Laverne, we're going to be using a different type of bogie. These ones here are, well, they're going straight up. It turns on one axis. However, we're going to be using a sort of drawbar configuration for Laverne because she's a 242 and it's going to be very hard for her to move around corners without this drawbar configuration. So as you can see here, inside this bogie, there is a drawbar here. And we'll be connecting this drawbar to here and it should spin on a sort of a, well, it goes in like an arc shape instead of spinning on one axis. So yeah, both back and front bogie will have this sort of configuration. and all in the same group. So yeah, these wheels, one group, driving wheels, one group each. And of course the rods need to be in one group. So as you can see here, even though I have one piece inside this group, it is still very important, because models, in terms of Advanced Weld 2, a model actually dictates what part does not get welded together in Advanced Weld 2. So you can see here, if I put Advanced Weld 2 here, and then the two parts that don't have groups, vehicle seat and A handle, are going to be welded together. However, these wheels, which are moving parts, are in groups, so they do move when you play the game. So yeah, that's it for grouping. Make sure you do it this way. Alright, then to continue with prepping, we shall spawn in a block. This would be our glider. I'll be using FGX today just to speed things up. So yeah, you grab your glider. I'll be using cylinder gliders instead of ball gliders, mainly because I find that it's easier to re-rail and it's just a lot more player friendly. You can re-rail on the fly very easily. Right, so here are the gliders. You just have to put, so as I said before, one glider per wheel. So since she has one pilot wheel and one trailing wheel, each get one glider. Yeah, so just, oh yeah, I did not mention this, but in order to group, you have to press Shift G or Shift U. Shift G is to group, Shift U is to ungroup. So yeah, we're going to include these things inside the group. Okay, then we're going to just spawn another one. This one here will be this will be for the driving wheel. So since she's an O driving wheel configuration, we'll be putting one each per wheel. And we'll be taking these, grouping them with the body. Of course, you can make this transparent. All you have to do is click it, scroll down in properties, and find transparency and set it to 1. But we'll keep this here for now, for convenience sake. Alright, so for this next part, we're going to be putting colliders on these wheels. So you can see here, these wheels, they do not come with colliders. They are just completely 100% bare bone. They are only the necessary parts that you will see in a normal model. And theoretically, these can freely spin. However, these use unions. So like if they spin and they collide using unions, you're gonna have a very bumpy ride, because honestly it's not ensured that Roblox will keep unions perfect circle. So we're gonna add our own fake collider. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all the wheels and I'm gonna turn off the collision. You can do the same for the body too, I probably should. So yeah, turn off the collision on the body, but keep the ones on the gliders, because those are colliding with the tracks and they need to be collided. Right then, alright. So then we're gonna just take our wheels here. I'm gonna fit colliders to them. I'll show you how, do not worry. Alright, first thing you do is that we're just gonna temporarily ungroup this, and we're gonna spawn in a cylinder. So then what you do is you just take one of these unions. So I'm just take this union, I'm gonna go down in properties, and I'm going to origin position. This is the coordinates of that wheel. I'm gonna copy this, Control C, or right click, copy, and I'm gonna click on the cylinder here. And we are going to also go to origin position, and we are going to paste. Great, so now it's now in the exact same position as the union. And of course we need to resize this. We're going to need to resize this so that it can fit perfectly. So yeah, make sure it's yes, okay. So the best way to tell if the roundiness is exactly the same is that if it's not Z fighting like this, that means it's on the exact same axis. So that's good. So yeah, we're just gonna position it like so that it covers the length of the wheel. I'm gonna just copy this, and we are going to leave it like that. Yeah, so here we go, we have two wheels with a collider. Perfect. So we'll just group these. Oh yeah, don't forget, you obviously have to turn off transparency on them. So yeah, so we'll do this. I'll do the same for all these wheels, and I will cut back. Alright, so I've installed the colliders on all the wheels. So we're just gonna drag them back to Laverne, so she is returned to the safety of being able to touch ground again. Oops. Right. So yeah, don't forget, you have to turn off. Don't forget to turn off collisions on the rods and the training wheels too. Neglected that part. Just turn off collisions. Except for the gliders. The gliders definitely need collisions. Alright, so that is it for the collisions part of it. Right, so now that we have basically gotten all her components ready, we've given her gliders, we've given her colliders, and now it is time to rig her. So yeah, first select all the groups that you've made, and you Control G. Control G to group, Control U to ungroup. Everything is under one group now, with names and everything, just for the sake of convenience. Next we are going to rig her. So yeah, take your chassis, Advanced Weld 2, VehicleSeat2, a handle, and VehicleSeat2 configuration, copy or Control C, and you're just going to paste into this thing. So yeah, all your stuff is in here now. Great. So okay, the first thing we're going to do is take a handle. We're going to make sure the collisions are off, and we're going to drag it to the middle here. It does not need to be accurate, because what a handle does is that it acts as a axle holder of sorts for your hinges. So basically it holds the wheels in place. Yeah, so make sure collisions are off, and just turn off the transparency so it's invisible, nobody wants to see that. And then we have vehicle seat. So yeah, what I want you to do here is take this and just put in the cab, because obviously it needs to be in the cab. Where else would you sit in the engine? So yeah, same thing. Collisions off, transparency off. So I'm gonna start explaining some components of VehicleSeat2 that some people may not know. So right, Advanced Weld 2 is obviously the thing that welds everything together, so it welds these groups together. VehicleSeat is obviously the place where you're going to control stuff from. You put scripts in here, you change the torque. As you can see, VehicleSeat, it starts with a base of 50,000 torque, and the normal Roblox VehicleSeat, they only give you 25, but here it's at least a lot higher, 200 times higher about. So yeah, and you can change the max speed, whatever. So then we have the VehicleSeat2 scripts. You can change and modify these, but for this tutorial, absolutely not needed. We don't need to touch these. A handle, as I explained before, it's the axle box of the engine. And then we have the VehicleSeat2 configuration file. There are two values in here that I want to talk about today. First is driver seat. Driver seat dictates which vehicle seat controls this. So what you can do with this is that you can take the value here and you select your vehicle seat, or you can select it and put it on another vehicle seat, and you can control it remotely. So it doesn't need to, the vehicle seat does not need to be in the same group, but for now it does not matter. We'll put it back in our normal one. And enforce network ownership and make joins. It's not too important as it is, but perform server simulation. Basically, we're not gonna do this now, but if you want to make rolling stock with VS2, I usually don't, but if you want to do that, all you have to do is, delete the vehicle seat, because you can't drive rolling stock, and you go to this value here and uncheck the box, but since we are making an engine, we check the box. Great. So those are the components of VehicleSeat2 explained. Right then, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put our hinges into our driving wheels. So first of all, I want you to press Alt D and then Alt T. So what Alt D does is that it turns on and off these attachment points. So as you can see here, the hinge inside this wheel is an attachment point. Alt T, what it does is that it just allows you to see through the block. Right, so yeah, we're gonna just do that again. We're gonna go to our VehicleSeat2 chassis, and we're gonna take the attachment and we're gonna copy it, right? And then for this next step, I want you to select your glider. So to individually select stuff, just press Alt and click. So yeah, we have selected our 2 colliders here, aka the invisible ones, and you just need to paste into selected. As you can see here, now we have put the VS2 attachment motor in them. So some things to note, I do not recommend, if you have a single wheel set like me, like right here, which is what I recommend by the way, I recommend only putting it on one side, because if you put one on the left side and one on the right side, both of these hinges are going to clash. It's going to cause resistance, it's not going to be good, you're going to slow down, you know. So yeah, one side only. And another thing to note is that I recommend putting them on the colliders, because let's just say you put these on the axle, for example, here. You can do that, but it will not conform to your max speed that you set on your vehicle seat. It will accelerate faster and faster. It will go into overdrive, which is a nuisance to some people, but I would consider it kind of fun. But in this case, let's not do that. So for this, put your VS2 attachment in your colliders, aka the part that's going to be touching the rails. So yeah, we have effectively given our engine working driving wheels. Right then, so next time I'm going to teach you is how to rig your trailing wheels and your rods. So in the case of Laverne here, we have basically disassembled her. We're just gonna, move these apart for now. You can do this before the rigging process, it does not matter. I just kind of forgot, so we're just gonna do it now. So yeah, you have your rods, you have your wheels, you have your bogie. We're gonna rig these so that they spin. Right, so the first thing I want you to do is set your stud snap. I believe that's what it's called. Snap to grid, yeah. Set it to 1 stud. It's the most accurate. You can set it higher, but 1 is good. So yeah, first thing to do is find your constraints menu under model, same place as snap to grid. You just go to the right and you click create, find your hinge. So basically what these constraints do is that it allows you to place attachment points for your constraints. There's a lot of other ones here, but we're not going to get into that today. So yeah, you can see your hinge constraint. You can move these around. It's cool. There's 2 attachment points and stuff. Right. Okay. So using this constraints, we're gonna rig our bogies. Great. So first thing I'm gonna do is rig the wheels actually. So first I'm gonna put 1 here. It can be anywhere. It doesn't matter. And 1 here. So in this case, what I would do is you find the part that this attachment is attached to. So you can see here attachment 0, and we're going to go down to position 0, 0, 0, and this drags the attachment point to the center of the wheel free of charge. Yeah, and then we're just going to take our bogie down here for a minute. Obviously I'm just going to do this for one of the trailing wheels. I'll do the rest later, but yeah. First, then you take the same thing as just now. You take this and you copy the position, world position, yeah. And you're going to take your other attachment, click, and you take it and paste the world position data into there. And as you can see, it moves from here to here. One of the best things about Roblox is that they show you what part an attachment is attached to. So let's just say, oh, I don't know, I cannot tell the difference. What is this attached to? You select your attachment here, and it shows, oh, it's attached to this block. And then if I select the collider here, and attachment 0, oh wow, it's highlighted green. I know where it's connected now. Great. So yeah, that is it for trailing wheels. Well, rigging the wheels on it anyways. And the same thing with the attachment motors. You only have to put it on one side, you don't have to put it on the other. Alright, so now that we've rigged the back and front trailing wheels, I am going to rig the bogies now. So we're going to be using our constraints again. So some people, they use hinge constraints. So they do this, they attach it up here, and what that does is, let's just say that I am the hinge constraint. So let's just say I am here. So hinge constraints, they spin on one axis, so I will only be able to rotate on this direction. Nowhere else. I can't go up and I can't go down. I can't twist and turn. I can only spin in one direction. And this is obviously okay, nothing wrong with that. It's just What if you have to go over a hill? That's certainly going to be a problem. And in this case, you might think, oh, we can use ball and socket joints. And how ball and socket joints work is that, let's just say once again, theoretically speaking, I am the ball constraint. So if I use ball constraints, I can just spin in any direction I want, up and down, left and right. I can twist and turn. But twisting and turning is bad because you know why? Because your bogie, it may fall between the rails like this. Very bad. And obviously nothing wrong with that, but for this method back in the day, people would just use 2 hinges just so they can have a 2-axis sort of a thing going on here. But that is no longer the case because Roblox has provided us with a brand new constraint called universal constraint. What this does is that, okay, let me just put this back up here. What this does is that if I attach this, I will be able to spin up and left and right and down, but I can't twist and turn, so I won't fall between the rails. So yeah, here's how to set it up. So first you take this one, this C-shaped one, and you press attachments, and then you rotate it so that it's facing forward, and then you grab this one on top here and you make sure it's also facing forward. They do not have to line up because this one is going to determine the left or rightiness, this one is going to determine the up and downiness. So I'm going to rig this on the back one too. Rightio, so we've rigged the back one too. As you can see, the back one, the C shape faces this way while the front one faces that way. So yeah, we have rigged our bogies. Hooray! But are we forgetting something? Yeah, definitely. We're forgetting to rig our rods. Alright, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna rig the rods. So I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna turn off that just so we don't confuse ourselves. So in this case, usually we would have, in my case, I would usually put my wheels so that there's one part here. This cylinder part stands its own part, it's not one big union like South has done here. But that's alright, we can do a workaround. We just have to put one in the middle here, and then we just put it anywhere on this rod. It does not matter. And then we do the same for this. We just put it in the middle and anywhere in the rod. Because you see, if you do unions, if you want to put attachments, there's no snap to grid, sorry, which is why it's usually better to put attachment point parts by itself. So yeah, the next thing we're going to do is that we're just going to change our increments and we're going to move these two to match this side. So yeah, it's going to go down here. So yeah, it matches up with the cylinder now. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this rod all the way back to before. So yeah, here. So Alt T again, we're gonna do the same thing as before. We're gonna copy the position of this one and we're gonna paste it into this one. Yay, it's lined up now. So then we do the same for this one, copy, and we do the paster, and good. We have one side of rods done. Quick editor's note, I am just going to say here right now that some people may have had some problems with rod locking. So rod locking usually occurs if your rods are on the same level. So let's just say that you put it down here and the other wheel is also down here. It's going to lock because there's no differential. So what I do for, if I'm doing 060, it does not matter. You can put them in the same level, but for the same quality of detail, we're gonna learn something called quartering. Quartering is a real thing that real-life engineers use to make sure their rods don't lock. It also provides a very smooth acceleration in your engine. It doesn't jerk. So what you want to do is that, let's just say that this one here, facing down, right? The other side, oh, it's offset by 90 degrees. Some engines use 180 degrees, but those engines are either 3-cylinder or 4-cylinder locomotives. But since this engine here is a 440, he only has 2 cylinders, so he's gonna lock. So in this case, I've put a differential on him. One side is a 90-degree offset, so they're not the same. Alright, so I've installed the rods on both wheels, so we've basically finished all our constraints. Hooray, hooray. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna take the body and we're just gonna move it back down again, return her to level ground. So the next step is that well, we're gonna weld everything. So I know before I said that we have this thing called Advanced Weld 2 that welds everything in your body. Well, yeah, but let's just say, what if I have a part of a script, or I want to make things easier for myself, so I want to group individual components. That's cool too, I do not mind. You don't have to do like me, but in this case we are going to weld those things together. So in this case we are going to use the weld constraint. I would usually use F3X weld here, but since this tutorial is for everybody, we're going to use weld constraints for now. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to find your A handle. You're just going to select it. So here we have a line going from it now. This line is pointing you on where it's going to go. So we're just going to need to weld our A handle to any piece of the engine. It does not matter, so we'll just weld it to the boiler. So yeah, I'm going to show welds here. You can see it's attached to the boiler now. And yeah, so since we don't have any other groups, we have a vehicle seat maybe, but that's already welded to the A handle. So yeah, in this case we're kind of done. That's it, that's all you have to weld. But let's just say you put like a lamp on her or something, you're gonna need to weld that. Just do the same method, that's cool. Right. Alright, so basically you can just start the engine right here and here, right? Everything is all set, that's good, that's great, everything is good. However, some people have concerns with engines. They're derailing, they're too bouncy, they're too light, they're not heavy enough to pull their loads of trucks. And the studio has actually a setting for your parts to make them heavier. So this is obviously all based on, you know, you can put whatever settings you want, but I will show you my optimal settings. So first we're going to select all the gliders. So gliders, let's what do gliders do? Gliders, they only purpose is to make sure your engine stays on the rails, you know. If you don't have flanges on your driving wheels, flanges, yeah, you're gonna need gliders. So it's supposed to provide zero resistance. It is supposed to, yeah, the only purpose is to keep it on the rails, guys. So yeah, we're gonna go to properties, scroll all the way down, find part, find custom physical properties, check it, and you open it. And you, okay, I'm gonna explain what most of these do. So density, well, it just makes your parts denser. It will not flow in water, it'll make it heavier in air, you know. Elasticity, this will basically, it's the property that that kind of like shows how bouncy a part is. So, you know, like a rubber band, you know, elasticity, yeah, just set it to 0. We don't want that long. So elasticity, weight, I'm pretty sure that these actually kind of determine like how much force is put into this friction and elasticity, but in this case I'm just going to set it to 100 because I don't want it bouncing at all. Then friction, so for friction, no friction, we don't want resistance, so we're going to set it to 100 too. Great. Alright, so time for some editor notes. So let's just say that you want your acceleration to be a bit smaller, like you don't want it to like shoot off from the start. All you have to do is go back down to torque and set it to a lower level. Okay. Alright, so that there is the end of the tutorial. I have nothing left to say. If I'm gonna make any more tutorials in the future, I'll obviously probably talk about rolling stock or scripts maybe. I'll write some code for you. But anyways, that is it for the video. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.